let's take a look at some bonus coins. I'm RockyOutcrop. This is a technical analysis episode for cryptocurrency in general. Your favorite coin will be in here. I didn't wipe that out. I didn't swear. I didn't say anything bad. Your favorite altcoin will be in this episode. Hopefully, if you're looking for it, it'll be in the title. If you're watching this episode immediately after I've published it, there won't be chapter titles, but give it a bit and give me a minute. Come on, and I'll put some chapter titles in there for you so you can see what you want and you can skip to it. We're going to start off and look at the VET coin. Okay, so it's not going to be just VET. It's not going to just be the Veterinarian Association coin here. It's going to be a few other ones. I think these lined up with the Fibonacci's before. Did I have it like that? Yeah. Just looking at those circles, thinking, what on earth are they doing there? It's going to have more than VET in it. I'll be taking a look at VET, Zilliqa, Kyber, ZeroX, RLC, Raven, DREP, maybe. I could do some Forex. I don't think so. Just kind of, want to cover a couple of bases because people have been asking me to take a look at different coins recently. So I just thought I'd do that. How are we doing on the old VET then? That means that, of course, not any individual coin is going to get super in-depth analysis. But join the Discord, get in there, talk in the Hot Alts channel, and then maybe I'll be tempted to do it again some more, of course. So we've managed to stay above the 236. This is what we're looking at in terms of a retrace. We did have this drawn in speculatively, drawn up to the tops there. This is, of course, by the way, against the US dollar VeChain, and we're looking down here towards the 17.5 cents level, where we've actually seen the prices coming in at that 17 cents level there. In fact, even today there, we've been down as low as 17.098 cents, and we've managed to maintain the 236 overall, though, with the current price action operating out there at 17.966. We're almost at 18 cents, and that's a good thing to see. This, of course, could be the first area, the most shallowest of retraces that you can have before continuing this price action towards the top side. And if we just take a look at the bigger picture, how far have we managed to come up, though, in terms of potential zones for turnarounds at? And you can see here we've come up as high as the 786 there on that. This is the 618 here that we came up to in when the prices broke above the 17 to 18 cents level. Zooming back in then, and where do we find the prices at? Well, if you just kind of stretch this out a bit so you can see it a bit better, there's the 618 there of this. This is right in at that golden pocket right now. So movements towards the downside, could do two things at once. Could go beyond the 236 there, and we could also look towards this Fibonacci over here for where we could find other levels at. In this video, by the way, I'm just going to focus on Fibonacci's. There are other things to look at, and I suppose I could just a little bit. Okay, yeah, right, fine. You could be looking down towards the 50% area if we saw a retrace beyond that 236 at 17.5 cents, closing out for the day. Could take you down towards that 14.7, so let's call it 15, or that 11.5, let's just call it 11.5 to 12 cents area, or sort of 11 to 12 cents area for and around there if you were to look towards that. But of course, that'd be pushing down below the 236. And in terms of Fibonacci, you could be looking again 14.5 or indeed 12, like we were speaking about just kind of a second ago, and there the 618 comes in at 10. So that would obviously be a significant retrace. And where would we find if that did actually retraces down as far as those levels in terms of the moving averages? Well, we have the 55 EMA coming in here in the daily time frame at that 10 cents levels, but at the minute we're doing okay. We had a golden cross over here. After golden crosses, it is quite likely at some point, you will at some point test one of these moving averages, but we moved up so parabolically since then that we'd have to kind of, we can look towards the higher levels that we've got in mind first off in terms of coming back down and retracing towards these areas. In terms of the movements up the way in the Bollinger Bands as well, we came outside that area, retraced back down to touch the uppers, two standard deviations towards the top side of the 20 simple moving average. It came back down here and then actually went in as low as doing the 50% area there, and close enough, let's call it, to the 382. And as a result then of the recent price action towards the top side, we are in a position to be able to continue to trace this towards the upper level, and the 20s SMA is actually coming in there at 13.5 cents. So ideally, we would see the prices go towards the sideways at least for a while, so that these things can move towards the top side. The 21 EMA comes in there at the 382. We're at 14.5 cents. So those could be your perfect buy areas for you if you wanted to look for the shallowest of retraces. I'm not a financial advisor, none of this financial advice, but bear in mind that, of course, we could just move towards the top side. Let's just jump down towards the lower time frames to take a little bit more of a look at the price action. We had bearish divergence pointed out between these two highs here, and as a result, we came down, and that was, played out perfectly for people who look to get in here at a 236, for instance, there, like we spoke about Is that right? Am I saying that right? 382. There's the 236 with a 50% retrace line. But the areas that we spoke to, as you can see with these squiggly lines that we've got drawn on here to the side in terms of where the retrace could go to and where you could get in at if you wanted to. And since then, we've moved towards the top side. But how have we done that? We've done that from here without the divergence. We've come up towards the top end of the Bollinger Bands. And we're actually below the lower end at the minute. You might be curious at this point, I suppose, where the lower side is. And I'll just make it visible so you can see it. And that comes in there at about 17 cents. Okay, so everything's tying together there. In terms of this price action as well, this is squeezed in again, having gone very much expanded during that parabolic trend. So, we've given the oscillators a chance to reset, come down here to the oversold territory twice on the RSI, because you can look at it that way. I said I was only going to do Fibonacci, and I've done everything. I've not done everything, but I've done a lot. Yeah, well, you could look at that. It's coming down to the oversold, broken back up above the neutral line. That could be quite good. And we could.
From desktop on out.
That's what happens when somebody leaves a message in the Discord. Fingers crossed, it's just one singular message, and I can go through this episode without any noise interruptions. Actually, let's give them a shout out. Who was it in the Discord? Litter as the Fiend. Litters the Fiend. I've never said your name. I always look at you and think Little Lizard or Little Lizard Friend or Lizard Fiend. I never actually think of their proper name. Anyway, I appreciate this isn't showing up on the stream. I've just opened up the Discord over the top of it, and you've put a couple of memes on there for the old Tezos. Good stuff. Great. Excellent. Well, cheers for that. TradingView wants to show me notifications. Okay. Right. Anyway, that'll do for VET. Let's take a look at, and this was just against the dollar, no time, I'm afraid, to look at it versus the BTCs. What did we say we would look at as well? Let's take a look at Kyber real quick versus Kyber's been kind of descending down the way. It's just started. Today's the first day of the first Epoch, so the voting and all the rest of it started on this one. I wonder how this sort of mainnet type thing launch, whatever you call it, staking launch here for this one, pump is going to continue on afterwards. Today's the first day. Of course, we come down as far as the 236 on this one. If you just watch the VET episode, then you know all about what these things kind of mean. And we're being supported by that right now at this 152 area where we see the 236 coming in at right there where the current prices is. And we moved beyond the Bollinger Band down there to the 144 moving average. It often doesn't get a look in on the show, but we did it and came back up here to the into this area. So long as we can stay above the Bollinger Band thing, we can retrace this a little bit. That's okay. I want to stay above the 236 overall, but I don't want to be moving down and parabolically moving down for sure. And we have the three levels towards the downside of the $1.42 area and the 132 area, which would both actually represent at the minute for me, if I were to kind of impose a bias. Since I'm being a bit sort of briefer on these, I suppose I can be a wee bit more biased about things, as I'm not financial advice in terms of good re-entry zones to potentially take advantage of what could also just ultimately just be a small retrace off the back of this here, where we have the high here. We've already come down below the 236, so that's cool. We've actually come in fairly close to the 382. So if we did move down to these areas, it'd be 382. Excuse the police outside. Or indeed, these other levels down there afterwards. I want to see the prices move above 164 so that we can start saying, hey, screw that, we're going towards the top side overall. And we've got the 50 simple moving average coming in there at 162. A confluence of moving averages there on the 4-hour time frame. Let's take a look at it on the daily real quick, and you can see that we came up there, back down again into the Bollinger Bands, and then touched off this one here at the minute, and the 21 EMA. So this could be a satisfactory retrace that's happened overall. 146 offering up a decent buying opportunity, seeing that we've come back up and whatchamacallit invalidated that Fibonacci retracement. So let's just stick another one on there for the crack. I hope you can do your own sort of bearish and bullish divergence and all that chat analysis, because I'm going to skip that for this one here. SAWS, and you can see then that towards the top side, 157 is the key area. If we want to be moving towards the top side, retake 157, and we could be looking towards the three areas thereafter, going up as high as potentially the 180s, where we could then ultimately ask different questions about whether or not we've got the overall divergence on the go. Actually, you can see here there's bearish divergence, and we already pointed it out. Bearish divergence here between these two doodads on the ding dong. Right, great. So what other coins did we want to look at? That was it versus the US dollar. Look at it versus Bitcoin, same dealio. Is that divergence there though? Let's just get rid of that tool so I can bring it up. Come on. Yeah, so bearish divergence between the highs there, retrace back down the way, gone past the 236, done the shallowest retrace at the 382. We could go down to the 50% thereafter. That would be moving on beyond the middle line of the Bollinger Band. I'd hope to see price action actually recapture itself in the future in this period in and around the 55s and everything else at the 13, 14. All three of these offer up good buying zones for us if we were to be looking towards that as a retrace. 15 points and 14 and 12. You can see those numbers on the left hand side of your screen here when I hover over the blue lines, 15, 7. So stuff like that. So that's decent enough. We've had a decent enough retrace on this one, perhaps, but we are moving towards the downside. So let's be aware of the fact that, moving on beyond these levels is fairly critical in and of itself. And that drops towards the downside could obviously lead. This same sort of thing applies to VET. Even just going down there, you're looking at an 8.5% drop off. It's a highly tradable event just to move, in terms of the sort of the fake out territory as a move past that 20 moving average there in terms of that one. So be careful if you're trading this thing on a leverage. Let's take a look at, do I want to look at ZeroX? Does it do anything interesting? Is it doing anything interesting? It's dropped down below our 236 over here and gone down to the median line here. Same sort of thing, right? Make it easy. If we get support at this 4,212 versus the Bitcoin level, then we could look up towards the 4,372 area where we have the 50% and the 236 Fibonacci's coming in there. Profit taking line clearly in terms of this just being a sort of a downward trend would be at 46,000 or 4,600 even, and but then if we're going to actually continue to trend towards the top side, I'm looking at that 4,950, so 5,000 area where the 786 there is in order to come in and put in higher highs. We had a bit of bearish divergence, 3 score bearish divergence over here on the way round. This has resulted in this turnaround, but we're currently staying above 3,886. I'd like to see that continue because that's where the 50% retrace level is in there, and movements down beyond there. See the 55, 50 simple and the golden pocket zone be touched at 3,758. If we're going to consider this to be an upward trend overall, then that's as far as I'd want to see that coming down really overall. If you were to consider this to be a cup with handle, this being your two rims, this peak here and this peak here with a basin in between, shown by the volume down here, then the drop off overall, and I don't want to see this retracing much, particularly down. That's a bit rich there. It depends on the time frame that you're looking at on this one. I don't want to see it retracing down too far past the 382 and that where we are just now for this to be a handle. This can last for any amount of time, however, and if you consider this to be your cup with handle thing, and you're going to say that you want to go 50% of that towards the downside really and no more overall, then you're looking down towards these areas where the 50% retrace is obviously at 4,000 in order to have your sort of handle section, and then looking towards there at 4,700 towards the top side if you're going to be doing that sort of a thing. So do you want to look at it versus the dollars? Oh, look, exactly the same chat. The numbers are slightly different, but we have the levels drawn out already. Top side levels, 47 cents, 43 cents, 38.6 cents, so 39 cents we call it, 35 cents here, we'll call that next line down, and then beyond there, oh my god, look how perfectly lines up with the Bollinger Bands and everything. I mean, this is what technical analysis is all about, really. Looking at that 30 cent level, just have to kind of teach a man to fish. I'm going to leave that info with you. Let's take a look at the RLCs versus BTCs. We've had this trace in the Bollinger Band towards the top side. That's what we so often talk about. Seems I've got some Fibonacci's on here from the other day. Looking at this speculatively, let's draw that in towards the top side. So we have this speculatively listed in the right place, and you'd be looking at the 236 now lining up perfectly with the 886 over there in the past, and that area of what do we want to call it? Want to call it 10,000 or 9,950? 10,000? Just call it 10,000. The 10,000 to 9,900 area in terms of whatever these are satoshis. For the RLC coinage, if you're looking for this to turn around, to be able to turn around, if it does go beyond that area, then you're looking down towards the 21 EMA and of course 8,566 where we find the 20 MA coming in at in the middle line of the Bollinger Band. Of course, that's kind of obvious. You're probably learning how to do crypto technical analysis just purely from this video alone. Looking down then past that, you've got the green 55 EMA coming in there at 6,850. Overall, we've had this happen without bearish divergence during this parabolic uptrend. Of course, this here actually, when I say of course, this doesn't look quite the way I would have expected it to look given the divergence here. And yes, And we've got a bit of divergence coming in here at the top of this here, and this of the DMI. Well, we've not got divergence on the RSI or the stochastics, and it's interesting to me. It kind of just shows you that the positive and negative price action here during this upward trend has been somewhat more, in a way, you could say, organic whilst parabolic. Compared to, say, the likes of, where we looking at? Where do we want to look at for a comparison? Shall we look at Tezos or Link? Then compared to Link, let's look at Link, where because of the divergence between, because we've had these parabolic moves up with fairly shallow closes thereafter. We have the DM positive moving up, straddling the ADX line on that one. So there's a little sort of shout out to the alternatives there for how that could look. Was it RLC BTC we were looking at? So they can see that, and that's actually resulted with a bit of divergence on there. And we've come down and touched the 236. That could be a decent enough entry point, having been one. 10,000 area, of course, look towards the top side at 11,700, and let's just zoom on right on out and take a look at where we've got our fuzzy line in here, which is, of course, our profit-taking target towards the top side. Should we continue this, I've got to be these three following levels: 12,691, then 14,217, and 15,897, and then we will reassess things thereafter. And let's just skip that versus the dollar coin. Let's look at Band versus, what do you want to look at it versus, you reckon? Bitcoin or US dollar? Let's look at Band versus USD. Calculated by TradingView. No, just versus Tether. I've not looked at this one on the channel before, so let's just see what it's like. I know that people like Band. No, only one person's requested it so far. Let's take a look at how it's been performing with regards to just really comparing it to the previous coins that we've been looking at. Look at the way this has been tracing this towards the top side, and look at the way this has gone up without any divergence on the go. You could say there's divergence here in the stochastics. There isn't any on the RSI, but you wouldn't really make that argument with the stochastics, because look at these previous things. We've come up here all without the divergence. This has been a very strong trend towards the top side, having seen a rise since the low over here all the way up to the top of 155%. That's not it's not unique there in the market for having done that, but it's very interesting that it has. And you can see then, if we draw a Fibonacci retracement in here, that we've come in and actually managed to, as part of today's price action, encompass enough of the price. Like, just, this is going wick to wick at the minute here, in terms of coming in at around about where the 236 is. They're at $2.32. I mean, my word, this thing was only $1 back there on the 1st of July. So we're now up here at $2.32. That's crazy, is it not? Well, things have been doing very well for this one, and if it continues, then it continues. This is all blue sky thinking, but we do have one little shout out to make towards the left here, where we see at 233, where the prices currently are. We actually had a wick up here, and to an extent, that's going to be the end of your sort of liquidity, where people came in here and they bought that before it dumped down in its initial sort of listing on Coinbase dump. Thank you for buying our coin. And then we can look towards, how we've come up here. So we've come up and we could see a retracement. If we do, where would we look to in terms of these levels? Just to keep things nice and simple, just going to draw that in there. And that's right at the 382, where our previous high was as well. Moving on down beyond that area, like the key area to look to, I'm only going to do 2 of these on this one, it's got to be in at the 618 area, where over the period of the next few days, we'll see the 20 simple moving average, the 50, all of them, the 55, all accumulating in around about the 618 area here over the next wee while. So just in there, and if we look at how this has kind of been an inflection point in the past with this sort of head and shoulders type area there, in at that 150 area if we retrace down the way, and I would then say that would be a fair enough entry. I'm just being a little bit biased in terms of these things for the coin. Normally all the technical analysis we do on a normal daily basis is FOMO free, greed free, and very much bias free. Now this has been FOMO free and greed free, but it's not been bias free so much as that. I'm kind of talking about these things in general in the altcoin, shitcoin market as having been in uptrends, and it's quite clear to see that they have been on the daily time frame, with numerous events along the way, like failed head and shoulders and stuff like that, and real head and shoulders and stuff like that worked out there and led towards downward price action. And we can see we've come up here all the way towards these tops of 250, and then down towards 210 here on, or 207 in fact. And if we were to move down for a retrace, those would be the areas I would be looking to on this one for this, which has had very strong performance. Interesting things about this coin, by the way, for people who are interested to know, is that versus its partly one of the reasons why it's doing well could also be considered to be because of the 16% APR that you get for saving it on places and that at the minute, if you're interested in that. So what else? Oh, Raven coin. We said we'd look at Raven coin. Hi, Ravers. Look at this. So I can't remember what we talked about the other day, but clearly this happened. And we have found resistance in at the 236. Okay, so we didn't manage to make it above the 236, and that's where the 200 simple is as well. And instead, the prices have retraced back down the way. Let's just encapsulate this price action at the minute by taking a look from our swing low up to the recent swing high and seeing how we're actually doing in terms of the upward side momentum on this one and where the prices currently are. And you can see they've actually come down below our fuzzy line, which I would have probably have said was a decent enough line to be bearing in mind. There where our previous two highs are, and they've actually come all the way down as far as the 50% retrace off of this from the swing lows over here on the 14th of May up to the highs. Oh, do I have that drawn in correctly? Yeah, I do. Up to the highs here on, thanks for your patience, on the 14th of July. So on the 14th of July, what's that then? Let me just check my watch. Oh, hello, that's today. So we've had so ravers will be very interested in this one, I suppose. We've come up there and then we've retraced 50% down from there. That's incredible. In fact, in terms of just the price action move just today alone, we can see that it's been a solid 15% down the way. I would say that overall this is a decent entry point. What you can look to in terms of like, oh my God, how did this happen? Why did this happen to me, Father? What you would say is that the Bollinger Band is right here. There's only a certain percentage chance that you move outside of it. You almost always come back down and retrace to at least touch the Bollinger Band there, whether it's a wick or whatever else. So you could have easily expected the prices to come back down when you saw them up here in their very much overextended and overbought, although the oscillators don't show it. This is one of the reasons why, by the way, on the show I so often say that I think the taxonomy is stupid. I mean, you can quite clearly say that this was overbought, as this wasn't happening down here in terms of this. And in fact, when it comes to the oscillators, I'd like to see them become overbought as part of this upward trend in order to just have this be as a healthy upward trend, and that instead of it being overbought, just looking at the anyway. People like words and shit and jargon be words, yo. So I'd say this is a decent enough entry point in this one overall, but I just wouldn't be too sort of greedy in terms of looking at this one. And its moves towards the top side. This is where it wanted to come back down to, fair enough. And if we do see prices move up and go, then the first profit taking target can be that 248 area again. And then after that, you've got to be looking towards 258, where we have the 236 from before, and then actually opens and closes above these two 236s, the initial 236, to invalidate this downward price action move since this low, to invalidate the retrace against the movement from the 15th of May to the 14th of July, if you want to get your sort of language accurate about it. Then I would like to invalidate that one, to then validate this one at the 236 at 257. So that's what I would like to see happening and moving above the 200 simple. Now, just bear in mind this is a daily time frame, and we've always been in death cross conditions, always. Well, not always, but since the 4th of July 2019. So for the last year. So if we could see prices move towards the top side and sustain themselves above the 20 simple, then we might actually see this start to move towards the top side and maybe even get a golden cross in there, at which point, we could be off to the races. But this is all-time lows that got put in here. Bear in mind, all-time lows, and they came in with let's look here between this low and this is the actual low, and it came in, was it divergent? It was not divergent. It was divergent on the DMI. We got one divergence. It wasn't divergent on the stochastics. And what about the RSI? Well, RSI was bullishly. Oh wait, if we look towards the left, in fact, compared to this low, yeah, which would really be the previous low. Oh, this shit's just shit. Looking at this low over here, or where we saw in terms of the oscillators, yeah, bullishly divergent. Yeah, bullishly divergent on that one. Coo. Bullishly divergent on that one. Coo. And bullishly. So 3 cases of bullish divergence towards this. Yeah, so you've got a couple of easy targets to look to in terms of like, are we turning the trend around? Can we be proud of this? Are we going to double down. Let's do one last look-see at a coinsy. I wanted to give a shout out to Unknown Coin, because this is one of these low market cap unknown coins, which could be in for the alt pump if everything else pumps alongside it, just to ride its wave. You can see here when you look at it, you can tell just by looking at these candles, if I were to go down to a low time frame, there's fickle volume on this. This is just as bad as the likes of our pal Hot, for instance. You know, these are the real shit coins when you talk about shit coins, these type of things here. But this one's interesting because it also gives away 16% savings interest on the old Binance. And looking at it here, and I'm not shilling shit coins, be very, very aware of this, I'm not, and that the bias ends here as well in terms of the run up. This is why this will be the last coin. Every other coin I'm kind of looking at with the point of view of a bullish bias on it, I would have to admit. And this one here, I have to say that as long as the prices are below 34 Satoshis, that we're looking. And by the way, it says DAugur there. I don't know if DAugur is actually the right name, DAugur. I don't know if that's the right name. That might be an old name for it or whatever. DREP thinks it's like to do with decentralized representation. I don't know. I don't know if that's exactly the right name for it, but I would say that the ticker is at least right. DREP versus Bitcoin. I've not done my research, right? Always do your own and don't rely on people who haven't done theirs. Looking at this 236, then I'm going to have to say 34. But if we did move beyond that, then you've got these targets towards the top side, which obviously, like, you know, 10% move up towards the 382, and a 20% or 15% move up towards the 0.5, and a 20%, 25% move up towards that golden pockets is where you'd be looking at 37, 40, and 42, 43 as being your free profit taking targets thereafter, if you were to get something like that on the go. And just zooming this in a wee bit and taking it, this is the 1 hour time frame. Zooming it, go to the 4 hour time frame and looking at this movement down the way, it did start to come in with a bit of the old bullish divergence, right? And then if we kind of look up towards the 24 hour time frame and do the same thing, then we're looking at this having come down. Very difficult to judge about lows on this one because there just aren't any. It's kind of parabolic, went down until it hit the breaks there at that point there. But looking between these two levels here, you know, are we going to see an inverted cup with handle, which wouldn't make any sense, by the way, because this is part of an upward trend here, you know, but if you were to look, you know, that wouldn't make any sense. So we're not, you know, but if you were to look at this, we're going to see a retrace up towards that 39 area for the handle section anyway, before you then continue towards the downside. Doesn't make sense. It's not how you would do it. If you're looking at this as being a head and shoulders type weirdo-ness, which it isn't as well, doesn't make sense, not how you'd be doing this, then you'd be looking for another right hand shoulder to come in anywhere, perhaps where these things are. In terms of the recent, you know, the nearest term time frame moves in this thing, I wouldn't look beyond 36, or I wouldn't look beyond 29 towards the downside if you were wanting to short this thing, which I would be actually, you know, comfortable doing should we see the prices move below 30 towards the downside. 29, you know, you're looking at percentage gains. It's a matter of the liquidity not being there and the volume and the actual, you know, volume on the market being there for your orders to be taken in order to get in and out using limit orders to profit off of these sort of one to three Satoshi moves, you know, and that's kind of what that boils down to. What you can see here is that the 21 EMA is managing to just skirt along, you know, and if it crosses towards the downside, it take away again the enthusiasm. I'd be looking here at how we double topped and put in a class B bearish divergence. Yep, class B bearish divergence top with this on the go, you know, here, class B hidden bearish divergence, that is, considering this to be a downtrend and this to be the high during a downtrend overall, where this is like that, but you know, that's like whatever. What we're really looking at is this 382 or the 236 just here, and of course where the Bollinger Band comes in at 36, there was the top side, and where the 21 is a 20 simple moving average at 32, and then down here at 29 for the other one, just in terms of looking at this one. But this is an interesting one, you know, because of its sort of total shitcoinness aspect to it, and it's got no money behind it. But you know, maybe this is one of those ones you might be interested in as well. So be sure to tell me in the comments of the videos and in the Discord, which I really encourage you to join, which particular shitcoins you'd like me to take a look at. And if you've asked me to look at one of yours recently and during this video I haven't covered it, then I apologize. I'm really sorry for it. But you know, I've done quite a bit here in this episode, which has lasted for like, what, I don't know, long enough. And yeah, so that's quite a lot of the old shitcoins. I mean, we could also look to other ones like Zilliqa and all the rest of it. I think I'd given you enough kind of clues looking at all these other coins to give, and the confidence, you know, to give you the confidence to be able to go in and do a few of these things yourself, just as you're looking at the prices yourself, to come in and think to yourself, well, have we done this from this point of view? Have we done that from that point of view? There's various different ways that you can look at these things overall and make your own mind up about certain aspects of things, like whether or not how we're doing in regards to the moving averages and whatever else. Just noticed here at the very end that I don't have volume on my chart, so which is really unlike me to not have the volume. Volume? I just want volume. I'm having a brain fart and forgot how you add volume. I'll just go and do that off camera now instead, so I don't embarrass myself. And look at that, yeah, I've added 4x to my favorites, by the way. So if you ever want me to look at that, you can give me a shout. But it's not what we're all about. We do crypto technical analysis on this channel. I'm RockyOutcrop. This has been a kind of round the market summarization of the shitcoin world. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope that you've taken some value from it. If you have either of those things, then hit the subscribe button and come back for more next time. Really appreciate it. Catch you next time.